The term Montford Point Marine might not mean much to most of the public, but those who trained at Camp Montford Point between 1942 and 1949 bear the title with pride, much like the Tuskegee Airmen in the Army Air Corps. These men were held to the same high physical standards in combat. They faced the same harsh conditions overseas. They fought the same enemy, spilt the same blood, and defended the same flag. Yet so often, they received very different treatment, both inside their own ranks and out in civilian life. They are truly the few, the proud, and the first African Americans to serve in the United States Marine Corps. Today we honor them and we thank them for their service. Semper Fi, always faithful.
That was incredible, Mr. Noel. You know, Congressman Palazzo's office called me about a week and a half ago and asked me to come here and speak today. And at first I was a little shocked. I actually just PCS'd from Camp Lejeune about 2 weeks ago. But when I found out what it was for the Montford Point Marines, being that I've spent the majority of my career at Camp Lejeune and been to the National Museum of Montford, or National Monument Museum for Montford Point, I'm sorry, numerous times, I couldn't be more honored to be here today. Those of you that know Montford Point Museum is over on Camp Johnson, which is named after Sergeant Major Hashmark Johnson, one of the first African-American Sergeant Majors in the Marine Corps. So, again, I am truly honored to be here today, and I'm going to go to my notes to pretty much talk about something I came up with the other day. In 1941, while the United States prepared for war, millions of jobs were being created. African Americans seeking employment in the growing defense industry suffered violence and discrimination. At the time, many African American leaders met with President Roosevelt and his administration to demand that he sign an executive order banning discrimination against African American workers in the defense industry. These leaders threatened to bring tens of thousands of marchers to Washington, D.C. in protest. On June 25, 1941, days before the march was to occur, President Roosevelt issued Executive Order 8802, which barred government agencies and federal contractors from refusing employment in industries engaged in defense production on the basis of race, creed, color, or national origin. The order required the armed services, including the United States Marine Corps, to recruit and enlist African Americans. Recruiting for the Montford Marines began on June 1, 1942. Thousands of African American men eager to serve flocked to recruiting offices all over the country. These men were not sent to traditional boot camps of Parris Island, South Carolina, and at the time, Camp Pendleton, California. Instead, African American recruits received basic training at the segregated Camp Montford Point in Jacksonville, North Carolina. The quota of 1,200 men was housed in prefabricated huts. Railroad tracks divided white residents from the camp for African American recruits, and these men were not allowed to enter the main base of nearby Camp Lejeune unless escorted by a white Marine. By 1945, all drill instructors and many non-commissioned officers at Montford Point were African Americans. Between 1942 and 1949, more than 20,000 men were trained at Montford Point. These men had the courage to accept the challenge that would change the course of history. Men who came from all walks of life and had to fight for the right to serve for their country. They were true heroes who would go on to fight at Iwo Jima, Okinawa, and Saipan, just to name a few. Some even paid the ultimate sacrifice by laying down their lives during a time of adversity and despondency when they were neither accepted by the Marine Corps nor the country for which they served. They endured racial discrimination and disrespect because of the color of their skin. Despite the treatment they endured, these men proved themselves worthy of the title United States Marine. In July 1948, despite strong opposition from Democrats of the segregated South, President Truman signed Executive Order 9981, which required the desegregation of the military. In 1949, Montford Point was deactivated and new African American recruits were sent to Parris Island, South Carolina, and again Camp Pendleton, California, ending 7 years of segregation. Today, we recognize 2 Marines who experienced the history that I just spoke of. Growing up in the segregated South, Corporals George T. Washington, sir, and Samuel W. Watson. I am so sorry.
Okay.
George T. Watson. I got it written down right. I just got ahead of myself.
Slow down.
And Samuel W. Sylvester Jr. Sir. Neither one were strangers to the injustices of discrimination. Both were trained as Marines at Montford Point and went on to serve their country honorably. After their discharges from the United States Marine Corps, both men went on to become prominent members of their communities. Corporal Watson as an educator, and Corporal Sylvester as a mechanic and integral member of Ingalls Shipbuilding. Their patriotism and sacrifice shows how far we've come as a country, and it is because of men like these we continue to strive for the right for all Marines, soldiers, sailors, and airmen to be treated fairly and equally. These 2 men have experienced and demonstrated the journey to equality that has made our military the best the world has ever seen. Again, sir, I thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. Gentlemen, I'm truly honored. Thank you.
Certify that the accompanying flag was flown over the United States Capitol in honor of Corporal Samuel Sylvester in recognition of your outstanding service to our nation as a Montford Point Marine.
And I'm blessed to be here, you know, and I never had a dream I would receive something like this, you know, but it made me happy. Appreciate everything.
Watson, please come forward to receive his congressional gold medal. And this is to certify that the accompanying flag was flown over the United States Capitol on behalf of Corporal George Watson in recognition of your outstanding service to our nation as a Montford Point Marine. Thank you, sir.
I feel good, but I think I feel better for my country, and it's an attempt to rectify a wrong that they did not do. And so I'm happy. I would not have participated had I not felt that way. But I feel that is an attempt to rectify a wrong.
Now, you know, that was a...
When you were serving, did you ever think a day like today would come?
No. No. In all the faith I have in my country, and all the faith I've had in people, I never thought I'd see the day when I would receive a medal for that.
Sir, I want to salute you.
special, huh?
You said young, you
It was wonderful.
That's right. I'll tell you what.
I feel good. I really feel good today. To know
I said yes, sir. No,
my country says again, well, we appreciate it and we're sorry. And if somebody tell you I'm sorry for what they did, you're a hard-hearted person not to forgive it. And well, they've been forgiven a long time ago. I moved on from that point.
Ceremony is long overdue, but it was be able to celebrate the service of 2 Montford Point Marines, Corporal Watson and Corporal Sylvester, for their service to their nation back during World War II. It was at a time in America where the services were not integrated, and it took several years, decades later for us and the U.S. Congress to actually recognize them with a Congressional Gold Medal. And so today was an opportunity to present 2 South Mississippians with the Congressional Gold Medal for their service to the United States Marine Corps.